as you mentioned about we being eternally in a school, and then that's what I gathered you had said when someone asked you in 2009 when you left the Channel 5
Yeah.
TV station after serving there for almost 40 years doing broadcasting, and someone asked you, what are your future plans? And you said, I will be in school, the school will never end. And
I
you
said that,
went,
Dad?
yes, and you went on to add, I hold a deep personal conviction that the mysteries of the spirit are the last great journalistic frontier.
Right, because I'm reporting on this to my last breath, and then I'll come back as a dog, maybe, or come back as this gentleman or that gentleman, and I'll have some way to communicate the love I've learned from Baba and pass it on as a journalist again in my next incarnation.
Beautiful. As we're talking about sharing this love that you received from Baba, and you mentioned that you had the chance of having one-to-one interactions with Swami
Hmm.
for a couple of times. He blessed you with a ring and all that. And I know in 2003 you definitely had an interview with Swami.
Hmm.
So can you please share with us a few snippets of those
Oh,
beautiful moments that you had with Swami inside the interview room?
the newly selected director of the hospital, super specialty hospital, Chaudhry Valetti,
Yes.
came to my town in Ohio, and I got to interview him. And I loved his stories about Baba. One day when he was here, he usually has his family, and Baba would always call him in for an interview. And his family wasn't with him. So he recognized that I was there, and he said, I can't guarantee anything. Baba's in charge. But when Baba calls me in for an interview tomorrow morning, as he always does the day I leave, I will ask him if you can come. Oh, he says, you'll have 7 seconds to run from the back of the hall all the way to the front, because I'll be the last guy he takes in. You have 7 seconds. I'll wave. If you don't see me, you're done. So this is what happened. I got in and I asked Baba.
This is in 2003 or
uh,
before?
or before.
Before, okay.
It's probably 2001.
Okay.
So I got into the interview room, and Baba's in the inner interview room, and I can't resist. Chaudhry, how did you do this? How did you get Baba to allow me to come in? He said, well, it was by the skin of my teeth, which is an American expression. He said, it almost didn't happen. Well, why? What happened? Because I said, Swami, thank you for inviting me in. A friend of mine, Ted, he's here. He's a good person. He would like to come in. He's a good person, Swami. And Swami said, in whose estimation? And then he said, no, no, Baba, yeah, he's a good devotee. I know Ted. He's new to you, but he's a very good devotee. And Baba said, in whose point of view? All of these questions. And Chaudhry said he thought his goose was cooked, that Ted would never get in. And finally Swami said, go for me too. So I got in there, and it was just a wonderful, delightful time. Swami took me into the inner interview room, and I've heard all these stories about how stern he can be, how he treated me like a puppy dog. He hit me 4 times on my shoulder, and then I said, Baba, I hope I have a healthy, long life so I can serve you. And he hit me 3 times on my chest like this. Good heart, don't worry about your health. You will work for me. And I asked him,
He said that you will work for me.
yes, I asked him, I said, Swami, please, can I take your name to America? I'm a journalist. May I take your name to America? And he says, no, don't take my name to America. Take my love to America.
Wow.
And
That's powerful.
So it's very, very powerful. And then when he asked me some stories about my wedding ring, I showed him my wedding ring, and he says, very nice ring, very good ring. I can do better. But he didn't do anything. And then the interview in the inner room ended, and we come out, and he sits me down right in front of him, and he looks at the 18 people there. Many were from the Atlanta Center, he called in. And I felt like I was his trained monkey. I'm sitting there looking at Swami, and he's looking at everybody else, and he looks at me, and he says, what do you want? And you've probably heard these stories 1,000 times. And I said, oh, Baba, I want liberation. No. What is it that you want? And I said, oh, Baba, I want to serve you for the rest of my life as long as I can. No. What is it that you really want? Material. And thinking, what material thing do I really want? Oh, yeah, he talked about my ring. Baba, I would love to have a ring. And he smiled and goes like this, and out pops this green ring. And he holds it in his hand for everybody to see, and then I begin to sense that he's going to attempt to put this ring on my finger, and I pushed his arm away. I did the unthinkable. I pushed Baba's arm away because I was fearful it wouldn't fit and I didn't want to embarrass him. And he pushed my arm away, took the ring and said, "Big ring for a big boy."
Doubts.
Doubts. Big ring for a big boy. And he put it right on there. And because I'm a journalist, this is funny. It was embarrassing, but I don't mind.
So at that point, the doubting Thomas became a trusting Ted?
Became a trusting Ted, just as I said in my talk. At that point, all of these young chaps from Atlanta, there were several doctors there with Chaudhry and me. I'm the only one asking questions in an hour. I asked about 18 to 20 questions in a row.
Give us a sample.
And, I said, "Baba, who are you really? Why are you here? Why isn't your name known all over the world? Why can't more people find their way towards your heart? I don't see enough Americans here." I just asked. I'm a journalist. I'm
I know
all these questions.
I want answers.
I want answers.
Rarely do we get journalists asking questions to Baba. You had that unique chance.
Two things, and I said, "Baba," I asked like the 18th question. And then he turns to me and says, "You talk too much." And then he turns to everybody else and smiles and doesn't take any questions from them. And he comes back to me and he said, "Next question?" And so I started to ask another 5 questions. And what was the point I was going to make? He finally told me, after I had a chance. This is actually the second interview with my wife. And my wife and I were both very, very happy to receive his blessings. 2 things happened. We're with a group of 12 people from Cleveland. We sit down. I sit right in front of him. As he's sitting down, he looks at me and he says, "How is wife's left eye?" Well, nobody knew that she had just had an operation on her left eye but me. And he did that for my benefit. He just did it for my... I know, she will be okay. I was there, is what he said. He was there. In the surgery for my wife's operation on her eye, I was with her, and she had a Baba healing picture there, a locket with Baba around her neck, and Vibhuti on her forehead and here, and she was clutching an image of Baba and doing the Gayatri mantra until she went out. So I was very impressed at the strength of her faith. And as a testimony to my doubting Baba, as we walk in, the very first thing he says to anybody, he walks up to me and says, "How is wife's left eye?" So the significance to you isn't very profound because you've heard 1,000 stories.
No, I think every time you hear these hit you, always.
And then in that same interview, Jody, my wife, and I got this from Baba. "Baba, I would like to interview you." Jody said, "Baba, Ted's a journalist from America. He's many, many years. He does good work. He interviews all sorts of people on a spiritual path. It would be wonderful for the people of America to hear your words, to do an interview with you." And I said, "Yes, Baba, please, I hope you say yes." He said, yes, my time is now." Those were his exact words. We took that as yes. So we left the interview. We went directly over to Chakravarti's office, Mr. Chakravarti. And his office was down where the canteen, across from the canteen, and these 4 fans are going 1,000 miles an hour, and he's got a phone here and a phone there. And he's talking to people and taking notes and giving orders. What a busy man. What monumental responsibilities he had. He finally gives us 20 seconds. "Mr. Chakravarti, my name is Ted. This is Jody. We just came from our wonderful, wonderful interview with Sai Baba, in which we asked him if we could interview him, if I could interview him. I'm a journalist from America." And he said, yes, my time is now. "We would like your permission to arrange for an interview with Sri Sathya Sai Baba."
That's interesting.
Now, excuse me for making this sound, but this is what he did. He looked at me and he went, "That will never happen." I'm sorry, but I'm telling you the truth.
This is really an interesting anecdote.
But
because
okay.
Swami said the time is now, it was already happening. I think that is the whole, we'll have to dwell on what he really meant when he said that time is now.
Do I have time for another real quick story?
Yeah, sure.
30-second story. In another interview, I asked Swami for the second time what I could do to help him. I was already doing interviews. We started interviews immediately in 1997. We would send them out in VHSs. We'd send them out to people around the world for free. And then DVDs, send them out to people around the world for free. And then finally we went up on the internet. In the second interview, or third interview with him, this is in Vrindavan, in the summertime, I said, Baba, with your permission, could I work with some of your strongest devotees? And I mentioned Isaac Tigret's name. And he said, yes, yes, good person, good heart. And I said, I would like to work with him. Yes, yes. Well, this is the second time I asked if I could work with Isaac Tigret. A, he's American. B, he had a legendary story with his House of Blues and Hard Rock Cafe. C, I was very intrigued that Baba would accept the contribution he got to build a super specialty hospital coming from the Hard Rock Cafe, which was a center for veg and non-veg and soft drinks and alcohol drinks. I wanted to know more about the lessons and all that. Baba has lessons in everything that happens with his name to it, with his hand associated with it. Yes, 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 good work. Good work. Work with him. That's what he said. He didn't actually say work with him. He said, yes, yes, good work, implying work with him. So we go home. It's wintertime. It's December. There's a blizzard in Cleveland, Ohio. I took my 16-year-old daughter from my first marriage down to Key West, Florida, where it's sunny and warm. We're on motorbikes. I'm bonding with my teenage daughter. And the phone rings, my cell phone, and it's Jody at home. Ted, you won't believe who just called me. And I said, okay, I give. Who called you? Isaac Tigret just called me. And I said, we've been trying to find Isaac Tigret for the last 2 years. We've gone to his office in Los Angeles. We've written him. We've faxed him. We've emailed him. We've UPS'd him. And he never responds to anything. Well, he called me. He's trying to find you. Here's his number. Call him right now. And I said, well, how did he call us and why? Here's what he said. He said, Mrs. Henry, Jody, Ms. Cleary, I'm standing here in the middle of the San Francisco International Airport about to get on a plane. I think he was going to London. And I've got my passport in my hand, and I open it, and there's a tiny slip of paper on which it says, call Ted Henry at this number. He had no idea how it got there. He had no idea who I was. He had no idea what I was going to talk to him about. And I said, well, I'm a Sai Baba devotee. I've asked Sai Baba twice to work with you if it's possible, and this must be an answer to a prayer. If you don't know how that slip of paper got in your passport, I don't know how. And we arranged to meet, and we talked for 8 hours in New York City at the Trump Plaza Hotel where he was staying once he got back from London. And we talked about all the work that is to be done by all of us, which we're doing now. And that's just one of many, many, many Sai Baba stories that I can talk about first person. I collect, like you do, superb, exemplary stories of love and spiritual transformation, which are secondhand. My stories are, to you, secondhand. So seldom are we able to refer to our own firsthand accounts. And it's the single factor that drew Jody Cleary, my wife, to Sai Baba. She loves Jesus, she loves spiritual paths, she loves spiritual teachers, but she wanted to have an experience of the divine. And Sai Baba came into her life at the time she was seeking Sai Baba, and she knew because he was alive, walking the ashram of Prushanti Nilayam, she could have an experience of the divine. And of course she found out, what everybody finds out, you don't have to be here to have an experience of the divine.